So when you first open up DaVinci, I know it looks intimidating, but it's very simple to use and you're going to learn most of it today. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to this Edit tab here at the bottom. This is going to be where you manipulate all the footage and create your videos. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to import the footage. So you go to File, Import, Media. Another thing that's interesting is you can create bins where you put your clips into. Now remember, wherever you import your clips from, don't move them from there or else you'll get like a media offline error. So if you right click on master, you could create new bin and call it whatever you would like. And you could even create a bin within a bin. So now you have different bins that you could import footage into or put new timelines into. So that way you can keep yourself organized when you're creating different videos within the same project scope. Once you bring in the clips that you like, you can double click them and you can see them right here. In this area is where you manipulate them. If you don't see this, click on this inspector tab. You click spacebar to play.
Go ahead.
And then spacebar to stop. If I want to bring in a clip, I click I. If I want an out point, I click O. Now I could bring in the entire clip by dragging it and dropping it to my timeline. Or what I could do is I could bring in just the video. Or I could bring in just the audio. You see, when I brought it in separately, these clips are unlinked. You could see right here that this is linked versus unlinked. Now, something that you could do is you could highlight this, right click, and right here it says link clips, just unclick that, and now you can manipulate it separately. Another thing that you could do, if you don't want to unlink the clips, you could go ahead and lock this down, and then you could delete this, manipulate it, move it around, and vice versa. The video you will eventually want to export will be created here. If you wanted to mute the audio, you could just click on this M. If you want to play the video, you click spacebar. You see how it plays? Spacebar to stop it. Now, if you want to scroll through footage very quickly, you can click spacebar to start it. Click L, 2x, 4x, 8x, and then faster and faster. Then click the spacebar to stop it. If you want to go backwards, you click J, and it'll go backwards. Click spacebar to stop it. Now, if I want to zoom in on this footage, I could scroll here, in and out. If I wanted to zoom in on just the X, I unlink this, and then I could squeeze it, or just the Y, squeeze it that way. But if I want to zoom together, that has to be clicked, and then I could zoom in together. If I wanted to change the position, I could go like this with the X, or like this with the Y. If I want to change the rotation angle, I can do that as well. Or the pitch, yaw, flipping the footage, let's say mirror image or even upside down, as well as cropping in on the left, right, top, bottom, and softening the edges. All that is available there. I could also do that straight onto this screen here. What I mean by that is if you click here, you can click transform and move it around here. If you have a mouse, you could scroll in and out, or if you have a laptop on the trackpad, just use 2 fingers to go in and out. And then from here, you can make the file bigger or smaller and move it around. And if you wanted to crop it, you could do that from here as well. Now, sometimes when you're playing audio, and you could see it playing right here, you see how it's hitting on only one side. So if you ever listen to it in headphones, it'll only come in through one ear. The way to change that is you right-click the audio, go to Clip Attributes, go to Audio. From Mono, click Stereo, and then change it to an embedded channel 1 or 2 and click OK. Now it will be hitting on both over here. So now let's learn how to manipulate the footage itself. Here is your blade B for cutting, so you click B or click this icon. And then you could cut the footage wherever you'd like. Then you click on this icon or click A to select footage and manipulate it. Let's say I wanted to delete it, I just highlight this in orange and click delete. Now if I wanted to manipulate this footage, it has to be highlighted before I could zoom in or out. And if I want to close this gap, I just click on the gap and click delete and it'll come together. Also, one thing to keep in mind is this magnet icon here, or N. So if I wanted to put the footage together, if this is highlighted, it'll snap in place easily, just like that. If this is unchecked, it won't. Now, sometimes you're going to be playing your footage with the spacebar, starting it and stopping it. But you accidentally sometimes click N, because this is the icon to turn this on or off. So you'll be starting and stopping it, and then all of a sudden it won't snap. The reason is because you accidentally clicked end. Just click it again, and it'll snap in place. Another thing you have in the Effects tab is video transitions. So if you go to in between two files, and you go to the left side of the video transition and scroll to the right, you could actually see what it'll look like in your footage before you import it. So you can see something like that. And if you wanted to input it, you just grab it and drag it and put it in between, and there's your transition or effect. If I wanted to do, let's say, a cross dissolve, I go over this area, I right click, and then I could add anywhere between 6 and 60 frames, and then I could make this cross dissolve larger or smaller just by dragging it. Also, this area here is where you'll zoom in or zoom out on your timeline. Instead of moving your mouse far distances, you just click on the zoom out and you can see your whole project. Or if you want to zoom in on a specific section, like let's say this cross dissolve, you just click zoom in and it'll zoom in wherever this orange cursor is. So we'll zoom out here. We're going to go to the edge here. You see how I have it like that? The icon looks like that. I right click and then I can fade to black. But I can't really see it, so I want to zoom in. And now I can see it better. And I can drag it longer. So then it would be fading to black, just like that. Now let's say I just want the video to fade to black and I don't want the audio to fade to black. Well, you just click on this lock and you can delete the fade from the audio, and now just the video fades to black. So here you have video transitions, you also have effects, and they work the same way. So there's a mosaic blur or some sort of radio blur. You have all sorts of filters and video transitions. Some of them you have to buy the premium version of DaVinci, but a lot of them are free. You also can incorporate text into your videos. So if I wanted to bring in basic text, I could just grab this, drag it in, click on the basic text, and then call it whatever I'd like. You could also change the color. You could change the size. Let's say I wanted to make it the exact color of his glove. I just came into the color, grab the dropper, click on that, and now it's the exact same color as his glove. I can move it if I click on the transform or crop it, different things like that. I could also change the tracking, which means how close the actual letters are to each other, as well as all sorts of different types of fonts. So don't forget to constantly be saving your footage. So you could use the shortcut Command S if you have a Mac, or Control S if you have a PC. Or you could come up to here to File, Save Project. Now let's say I wanted to start a new timeline. Well, you just go to File, New Timeline. And from here, if you unclick this and go to Format, you could change things like the resolution. For now, let's just keep everything the same and click Create. And now there's your new timeline where you could bring footage into and create a whole nother video with the same footage you imported in the first place. So we'll go back to the first timeline. Let's say for whatever reason, I want this as an image. I want to grab this still. Well, wherever your cursor is, this orange cursor, you leave it there because that's what I want. Then you click on this color tab. Right click up here, click on grab still. Right click this, click on export, and change this to JPEG files. Call it whatever you'd like and export it to wherever you'd like and just click export. And there you go, you've grabbed a still from it. You could also mess with the coloring here if you would like. So you see how the colors get a little bit bolder, a little sharper. If you go to this section here, these curves, and then you can play with all sorts of different types of colors. So let's say I like this footage and I like this video and this is what I want to export. First, let's look at our footage. If you scroll over inside this area here, you can actually see things like the resolution, the frames per second, and you can also see the video codec. You see it's H.265. Then, if you want to export this, you click on this rocket ship that says deliver, this tab, and you can even export it as that H.265. You want to place your location where you want to save it in, so I clicked my desktop, give it a file name. You could even change things like QuickTime or MP4 here, and you can even change the resolution that you want to save it in. Then you click Add to Render Queue down here. It'll pop up here, you click Render All, and there you go. You've just now exported a file in DaVinci Resolve. So I want to mention just a few more things before we go. So you could actually stabilize the footage if you would like. Over here in the Inspector tab, if you scroll down and you open up Stabilization, then highlight the clip that you want to stabilize. I like to stabilize it with similarity if it's something that's going to be similar but not locked down in a camera position. Then you would just click Stabilize. If you're filming something by hand and you want it to look like it's on a tripod, I would go to Perspective, Camera Lock, and then Stabilize from there. Another thing you could do is layer things on top of each other. For example, if I had this logo of this panther head, I could just bring it down, adjust it to the size I would like, drag it to the exact size. Then from here, I can make it a little smaller and maybe put it in the corner. So you could layer your footage on top of each other like this. Another thing you could do is make freeze frames. So if I wanted to make a freeze frame of right here in this position, I move my cursor where I want it. I click on my clip, I right click, change speed, freeze frame, and then just click change. You can see that the right half of where the cursor is a freeze frame, but the left half was untouched. It's still the same video. So for example, if I wanted to make this whole thing a freeze frame from the beginning, I could just put my cursor at the very beginning, right click, change speed, freeze frame, and now this whole thing is a freeze frame from where I changed it. Now if you want just the very end to be a freeze frame, you go to the very end of your clip, go one frame before. I'll zoom in so you can see better. Right click, change speed, freeze frame. So now only the last frame is a freeze frame, and you could drag that longer. So for example, you could play your clip and then the end would be a freeze frame. You could also change the speed at which your video plays. So you could right click, change speed, and then you could increase the speed or decrease the speed, whatever you would like. If you want to play the video backwards, but backwards at the same speed, you go -100. If you want to play the video backwards, but at half the speed, you would go -50. If you want to play the video backwards at 2 times the speed, you would go -200%. Also, don't forget that you could add a whole host of very interesting text options. For example, if you go to Fusion Titles in the Effects tab, under Titles, you could see all the different text options that you have. For example, if I wanted this text option, I could just grab it, drag it, move it to the area of the video I want it to, adjust the size, and then I could call it whatever I would like. Now remember, things might be slightly laggy as you're editing it if you have a lot going on, but once you export it, everything will look fantastic. The last thing I want to show you is something called a keyframe. A keyframe is you have something in one position or rotation angle or crop, whatever you have, and then over time that changes. For example, let's say I want it on the left side at the beginning of the video, and by the end of the video I want it on the right side. So I go ahead and click on this clip, I move it to the position where I want it, I come up here, this is transform, so I click on the keyframe, it highlights everything like the rotation angle, it remembers all of that. Then I go to the very end, one frame before, and then I can move it, whether in just the X or the X and the Y. Let's say I want it up here. And then over time, it does that. You could also do that for cropping. So let's say I click on the bottom clip here, and then I click on this cropping keyframe. So that way everything is set like that. And by the end of the video, let's say I want it to be completely cropped. So I move it from crop to the left, and I go all the way to the end. Now if you play the video, it'll adjust all those keyframes for you. So let's say I add audio to this clip, and I think the audio is a little too low. All I would do is I would highlight the clip, go to Clip, Audio, and from here you could increase it or decrease it 1 or 3 decibels. Don't forget, the most important thing is to just play around, experiment, and have fun.